My name is Patricia and I'm 34 years old. These days I live alone. Not too long ago, I shared a typical two-story apartment with my husband, Carl. Our life together was quiet and practical, mostly to save money, but the marriage I envisioned and the reality I faced were two very different things. I first met Carl at a social gathering, where he casually mentioned working for a well-known company. He had a certain charm that attracted quite a few women, but we connected the most, largely because of our shared love for outdoor activities. After that event, we spent more time together, and a month later, he officially asked me out. We were both 26 at the time. 3 years into our relationship, he proposed. We got married, and 5 years later, I found myself back to living alone. Looking back, I can't help but feel like those years were wasted. Our first year of marriage was relatively uneventful. I did notice that Carl's parents weren't particularly fond of me, but since we didn't interact much, I didn't let it bother me. Then, out of the blue, Carl quit his job. I wasn't getting along with my boss, so I resigned, he said casually. I wrote such a scathing resignation letter that going back isn't even an option. Before we married, his parents had made it clear they didn't approve of women working, so I had already left my job. Suddenly, with Carl unemployed, we were both out of work. We couldn't afford to live like that, but he brushed it off. I just need a break, he insisted, making no real effort to find another job. He lounged around all day, occasionally claiming he'd visited the job center, and even had the nerve to ask me for spending money. Since I had been a homemaker, I didn't have extra cash to give him, but as he showed no signs of looking for work, I decided to go back to my old job. Fortunately, my coworkers welcomed me back warmly. The only ones unhappy about it were Carl's parents. Given their strong opposition to women working, I wasn't surprised when they found out and demanded I quit. I told Carl to inform them about his unemployment, thinking it would explain my decision. Yeah, I'll get around to it, he said. But he never did. Instead, they learned about my job through someone else and called me an outrage, accusing me of being disgraceful. Frustrated, I told them to ask Carl why I had to go back to work. That turned out to be a mistake. He lied to them, saying I wanted my own money. Naturally, this only made them resent me more. Furious, I confronted him. You know how my parents care about appearances, he shrugged. If they found out I quit, they'd lose it. Just wait until I find another job, and then we'll smooth things over. The thought of enduring their constant criticism while pretending everything was fine gave me a headache, so I took matters into my own hands. I went to his parents and told them the truth. Predictably, they didn't believe me, but I had come prepared. I played an audio recording of Carl admitting he had quit. I had plenty of opportunities to record him, given how often I asked when he planned to start job hunting. The evidence left them speechless. Yet instead of apologizing, Carl's father launched into an attack. If you had been a supportive wife, he wouldn't have felt the need to quit in the first place, he snapped. His mother joined in, sobbing as if I were to blame for everything. Their yelling was so loud that their daughter, Jane, emerged from another room. What's going on? She asked. Her mother tried to shoo her away, but Jane had already heard enough. Jane, 28, worked remotely and had a boyfriend, something she had confided in me because she knew her parents would disapprove. It was clear she longed for independence, but their strict beliefs about women staying at home kept her trapped. Despite their attempts to turn her against me, Jane respected me. And now, hearing the truth, she glared at them. Are you seriously blaming Patricia again? She snapped. You care so much about appearances, yet you think it's okay to gang up on her. Carl quit his job, and instead of supporting Patricia, you've been criticizing her for working. If you're so desperate to protect his image, then find him a job yourselves. Her words hit them hard, leaving them stunned into silence. Jane turned to me. I'm really sorry about my useless brother, she said. If he ever tries to live off your income, don't hesitate to cut him loose. I smiled. That's the plan. I'm not spending my life with a man who refuses to work. Fearing the shame of having their son abandoned, Carl's parents pressured him into job hunting. After months of doing nothing, he finally found a new position at a smaller company. Yet instead of being grateful, he sneered, "This place is beneath me." I had a feeling it wouldn't last, and I was right. He managed to stay for 3 years before quitting again, claiming it just wasn't the right fit. At least this time he lasted longer than I expected. Meanwhile, I had been working consistently and had climbed the ranks to a managerial position. My salary had grown, and unlike Carl, I had built a stable career. But I had also been saving money for something important, an investigation. What I found confirmed my suspicions, and after that, I made up my mind. We should end this, I told Carl one evening. His eyes widened. I can't stay in this marriage any longer. Let's get a divorce. Carl, who had always been spoiled by his parents and believed himself destined for success, scoffed at me. Are you sure about this? A woman like you will never find another man like me, he said smugly. I didn't even dignify that with a response. Instead, I signed the divorce papers and handed them to him. Even then, he was convinced I'd regret it. I'll go stay with my parents for a while, he said, as if I would come crawling back. Enjoy crying your heart out without me. It worked in my favor. While he was gone, I filed the divorce papers, signed a lease for a new apartment, and moved out, starting my new life. The place I moved into was meant for two, but I had someone special moving in with me soon. In just 2 weeks, my new life would truly begin. After starting my new life alone, I got an unexpected call from Carl. Hey, you've had enough time to reflect, right? Besides, I figured out your little trick. This whole divorce thing was just a setup for a surprise. Now hurry up and open the door. My parents and the movers are already downstairs. I blinked in confusion. Excuse me. Stepping onto my balcony on the 55th floor, I glanced down. From this height, people looked tiny, but I could make out a moving truck parked below. I still couldn't wrap my head around what he was saying. Carl, what are you even talking about? Sounding all too cheerful, he replied. Starting today, we're all moving in. Me, my parents, Jane, and you. So don't keep us waiting. I was completely stunned. How could he still believe we were married, even after signing the divorce papers? Then, before I could say anything, I heard his mother's voice on the line. Patricia, I see you've been making a nice income while neglecting your husband, she sneered. No wonder he hasn't been able to earn much. You've been draining his ambition. If you're the breadwinner, then it's only natural that you should support him. I let out a deep sigh. They had belittled me as a wife for years, and now they expected me to provide for them. It was time to set things straight. Oh, by the way, I said calmly, I'm single. There was a long pause. What? His mother shrieked. I divorced Carl. He signed the papers himself, and I finalized everything. I don't know him, or any of you, anything, I said before hanging up. Behind me, Jane, who was making hot cocoa, raised an eyebrow. Was that my brother just now? Yep, I nodded. Carl and his mother. They somehow found out I moved here and decided to invite themselves in. Apparently, their grand plan was to have all 5 of us live together, including you. Jane grimaced. Oh no. Maybe this is my fault. He might have seen my phone or overheard me talking to the movers. I shook my head. Honestly, your family has no shame when it comes to women. Jane and I were roommates now. She had struggled to leave her family's house due to their constant interference, so I suggested we live together. I had specifically chosen a secure, high-end apartment to prevent her family from barging in whenever they pleased. No matter how long they waited outside, they weren't getting in. Her boyfriend was currently overseas for work, and she planned to stay with me until he returned, but I never expected her family to flip so suddenly on their stance about financial independence. Did your mom seriously say that? I asked. Jane tilted her head. Up until now, she always insisted that women shouldn't work. She constantly pressured me to stay home too. The sudden change in attitude was suspicious. Then, a realization seemed to dawn on Jane. Oh, maybe my dad finally told her he lost his job. I stared at her. Wait, your dad is unemployed? Yeah, she sighed. He got fired for making sexist remarks at work, saying things like, women are only good for making coffee. His boss had enough and let him go. I let out a low whistle. Wow. I thought he only acted like that at home. Apparently not. Now, all 3 of them, Carl and his parents, were jobless. That explained why they suddenly wanted to move in with Jane and me. Since they had snooped on her phone, they must have discovered that we were living together. And judging by their behavior, they must have thought, if Jane is staying with Patricia, we can all join in too. As we discussed this, Carl kept calling relentlessly. With a sigh, I finally answered. Hello. This nonsense has gone on long enough, Have you finally come to your senses? I'm coming back, Carl declared. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Why would I let a complete stranger into my home? We're divorced. Stop bothering me. Then why are you living with Jane? He demanded. She's my sister. And unlike you, she wants nothing to do with your family. She even left a note at your house. That note doesn't count. You're still my wife until I say so, and Jane is still my sister. Got it? He barked. I was done. You know what? From now on, talk to my lawyer. And just so you know, I'm planning to sue you for damages over your infidelity. There was silence. Then he sputtered, Lawyer? Infidelity? What are you even talking about? I sighed. Of course, he had never bothered to ask why I wanted a divorce. Carl had been fired not once, but twice, for hitting on female coworkers at both jobs. His dismissals were kept quiet because the companies didn't want any scandals. When I suspected something was off, I hired a private investigator. And that's when I found out the truth. When confronted, Carl had the audacity to play the victim. It's your fault I cheated, he claimed. Besides, infidelity is just proof of a real man's worth. I had laughed in his face. There's no honor in a man who's broke. Then I walked away. Back in the present, I ended the call. In the end, Carl and his family had no choice but to return to their old house. After apologizing to the movers, of course. But it seemed they were planning to sell the house and move somewhere cheaper. Since they had no income, Carl and his father were forced to start job hunting. Meanwhile, his mother, who had spent years looking down on working women, refused to lift a finger. She simply lounged around at home, insisting, women don't need to work. As a result, Carl and his father, once completely in sync, began turning on each other. Arguments erupted daily. Jane and I heard about their downfall through a mutual friend, and we couldn't help but feel relieved. We had escaped just in time. This living arrangement wouldn't last forever. Once Jane's boyfriend returned, she would be moving out to start her new life. But before that, she turned to me with a warm smile. I want you at my wedding, she said, as my real family. Her words nearly brought tears to my eyes. I had gained a sister in her, and I would continue supporting her happiness, just as I pursued my own. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Stay tuned.